The opinions expressed are those of the show's host and not the staff or management of Port St. Lucie Broadcasters. Any reproduction without written consent of WSTU and WPSL is strictly prohibited. Now it's time for Quality of Life Radio, brought to you by Cigna and Aetna Medicare. Here are your hosts, Gary Owen and Tom Bouvier.
Hello and good morning, Treasure Coast. Thank you for tuning in on this extraordinary Tuesday morning. It is a very special day because it is Tuesday. It's gorgeous, like Tom and I are handsome. But today is August 29th. It's my dad's birthday. I am so blessed to have my dad still with us, and happy birthday, Dad. Thank you for being a great dad, and I love you. So you're tuning in to the world-famous Quality of Life radio show. I am your host, Gary Owen. I'm the president of Owen Insurance Group.
And I'm your co-host, Tom Bouvier. I'm one of the field managers at Owen Insurance Group.
One of the best field managers.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Out of the 12 field managers that we have, he's in the top 12 somewhere.
That's all I want to be is a legend in my own mind. Yeah.
And thank you so much for tuning in today, either on Facebook Live or WSTU 1450 AM or WPSL 1590 AM, or if you're tuning in around the globe, and you could be in Cartagena, or in España, or Italy, or in London, or the Philippines. Hey, you're probably tuning in on Alexa, on TuneIn on Alexa. So thank you very much for joining us this morning. And we're here every single Tuesday morning having fun.
Absolutely, we are, Gary. And this is the last Tuesday of August 29th.
It's amazing how fast
it does.
The last 8 months went.
That's
crazy.
Right. It's almost as fast as the next 30 minutes on this radio show.
It's gonna go
I mean,
fast.
this is our half-hour show. We bring relevant content, information. And, Gary, you and I, we love to share our knowledge and present information about insurance planning, all of the pitfalls to avoid. I'm going to get that right sooner or later. Pitfalls to avoid. And believe me, there's a lot of them out there, a lot of pitfalls and traps and everything. We bring transparency and good old-fashioned straight talk about insurance planning to help improve your quality of life, and that's where the name of the show came from, Quality of Life. It's also Owen Insurance Group's mission to simplify insurance planning, make that complicated insurance simplified so that you can enjoy the stress-free life that you deserve, and mark it off your take it off your to-do list. Certainly not a bucket list. I mean,
yes.
Who likes insurance planning?
Right.
Even we don't.
Right. And also, you got to be watching out for out there are these nefarious bad actors who are trying to abscond with your, and especially with what's going on with AI today, man. Be very careful because there has been an uptick in these bad actors who are trying to get your Medicare number, and understand that the government will never call you to confirm that you received your new Medicare card and ask you what that number is to confirm that number. Don't do it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for people that say, hey, we have a warrant out for your arrest. Unless you pay right now, they're coming knocking on the door. I'm like, come on, bring him in. I'll walk him in. I'll buy him a cup of coffee even. Like what happened to my parents. I mean, some scammers called and had FPL on their caller ID. My mom thought it was legitimate. They said they didn't receive her payment because she's old-fashioned and does it by check in the mail, which I strongly recommend against. But no one pays attention to what our recommendations are usually. But we never recommend doing anything by mail because people are taking stuff out of the mail, what have you. But nonetheless, be careful of the scams that are out there. Be very, very cautious. Today, we're going to talk about the IRA. And what does that do and how does that affect your prescription drug plans? Now, I'm not talking about your individual retirement account, that IRA. We're talking about the Income Reduction Act, Tom, and how it is going to affect your prescription drug plans moving forward in 2024. And in 2025. Before we get started, though, I want to read the quote of the day, and Tom, we can get going and then on the IRA and drug plans.
Okay.
Let's talk about. So one of the things that we believe in here at Owen Insurance Group, I've been here on the Treasure Coast now for 38 years, right? I was a mission pilot for the Civil Air Patrol, the Air Force Auxiliary, and the core values of the Air Force. We embody those core values and believe in those core values. And those aren't buzzwords here at our agency. And those are important: integrity, service, and respect, professionalism. And we have fun doing what we do, but we take care of our people. So the quote of the day today is about integrity. Integrity is choosing courage over comfort, choosing what is right over what is fun, fast or easy, and choosing to practice our values rather than simply professing them. Anybody can say they have integrity. Everyone can speak those words, and their lips are moving, right? We know they're saying something, but integrity shows in itself. And so that is important to us, is having integrity in doing what's right for our clients 1,000% of the time. All right, Tom, drugs. This is probably, hands down, the single most important topic for most of our senior clients.
It sure is.
Drugs. I mean, it's one thing we talk about Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, but hey, what can you do to help me? I'm on this drug. I'm on what is it, Humira or Eliquis or whatever it might be, and my drug is getting so expensive. These designer drugs that have popped up. In fact, it's amazing, Tom. I'm going to share with our audience here. I'm going to pull up my phone because every time a commercial comes on for prescription drugs, like Jardiance, I got type 2 diabetes and I manage it well. I look like a clown. I'm not going to. No, I'm not going to smell. Anyway, it's ridiculous, right? I mean, I get. So in the last 30 days alone, I've copied down 47 designer drug commercials. 47. And it's ridiculous. And we see it all day, every day. Look at all these bloody drugs. Dupixent was the #1 drug ad spend of any other drug out there. And they spent, so far, $288 million this year on ads. Now, do you think they're making some money?
And don't you think they're going to demand a ROI on that, a return of investment? So I can't imagine how much that medication costs.
So Tom, there are some drugs, prescription drugs that's outpacing inflation. The IRA is reining in the cost due to the Income Reduction Act that was signed into law by President Biden last year. I don't care whether you're an R or a D. See, here, we are independent thinkers, and whatever your philosophy is, or your religion is, or whatever your political mindset is, we believe in dissecting the information that comes from the left and comes from the right, and getting that information to you, unbiased information that is going to affect you, your health plans, your Medicare plans, your drug plans. So you've come to the right place and getting the information that you need. So Tom, what are some of the drugs and what are some of the exorbitant premium increases that have occurred in the last year on some of these drugs?
Well, I can tell you just from clients in the last month, I'm going to name 3 of them, if I may. Eliquis, #1, is on here. It's up 124%. And you mentioned inflation. I saw that July's inflation was 3.2%,
right,
in 1 month. So let's just say, on average, if we multiply that 12, that's 36%.
Right.
So so even if it is 36% of inflation, which is absolutely insane,
crazy.
But 124% on one medication. I mean, they're done with the research and development. They already know their cost in making it. Now, perhaps the components of it cost more, and they have to make the pill and all that. But 124%, and then Januvia 275%, and then Lantus, which is the insulin, 739%.
Ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
Ridiculous.
Novolog is 628%. So I just did 4, but it's just absolutely it's tripling, quadrupling, and in some cases like 20 or 30 times more than inflation. So I don't understand it.
I don't either, Tom.
Profit.
I don't understand. I mean, Novolog, 628% increase, right? So we know what it makes. It's about what, 60 cents to make insulin. I mean, it's not a lot of money. So I'm not sure I understand. I mean, I think we get it. We know what they're trying to do. We know that the CEOs want to make gazillions of dollars a year. But off the backs of our senior citizens and Americans who need the drugs to survive. And when you hear we have clients that are saying to us, yeah, I can't afford to take that drug, or I can only take half a day instead of a full pill, or I take one pill instead of 2 or 3 pills a day because I can't afford to get it refilled, that I cringe. I absolutely cringe when I hear that.
And what's amazing is some of this medication is brand only, meaning there's no generics yet because their trademark hasn't expired. And our clients, I've had clients that say, when we're visiting family in upstate New York, said we literally just go across the border into Canada with our prescriptions, buy the exact same medication, and it was made in America because it's brand, and they pay about 25% of the cost that it would cost here. The EpiPen is a great example. Buy it here in America, it's like $500 or $600. Over there, it's like $40 or $50. It's just insane. And it's made at the same company. So you ship it out of the country and you can buy it for less, but you buy it in America and they're just, I don't know, bending us over and giving it to our American citizens.
Yeah, I mean,
mainly our seniors.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I want to make sure that people are aware that if you're on a commercial plan, let's say you're on a group plan and you're retiring, or you're on an individual plan and you're turning 65 and now you're going on Medicare for the first time, if you're on any of these designer drugs currently, you're going to be shell-shocked.
Try some way to get a year or two prescription fill before you get on Medicare.
Because if you think you're going to get the same designer drug while you're on a Medicare prescription drug plan that you have now at the same price, it ain't gonna happen, boys.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna happen. Very rarely does it happen.
Yeah, very rarely are people happy with their Medicare drug coming off of a good group plan if they have a lot of drugs or the designer drugs, as Gary said.
But there is a glimmer of hope.
There is.
In the future. But we see
we're giving you the bad news first.
Yeah, we'll get the bad news. We'll get the bad news out of the way first. But I mean, even Jardiance, 97% increase. You mentioned Eliquis at 124%. I mean, it's Enbro, 701% increase.
Yeah. Now, Restasis, a lot of people take that for their eyes.
Yeah,
my dad,
that's right.
Takes the eye drops. 330% increase in cost. Unbelievable.
So, let's talk about the timeline for the Inflation Reduction Act and how that is going to affect those of you who are on a Medicare prescription drug plan, or maybe those of you that are born in 1958 and 1959, pay particular attention to what we have to say here today. So, obviously, I mean, again, it's not about Republicans and Democrats and far leftists and far rights. I mean, it's the Inflation Reduction Act. And I'm not saying that I agree 100% because we know there's a lot of pork in these bills. And I'm not about I like pork, don't get me wrong, but not in our legislative bills, right? I don't like pork in that. But nonetheless, there were some good things that came out of the Inflation Reduction Act. Namely, savings on prescription drug plans, holding the PBMs and the prescription drug manufacturers holding their feet to the fire. So they're not making these exorbitant premium increases or price increases on their drugs that make it far-reaching for any average American to attain. So as of this year, beginning January 1st, most of you already know, if you're on insulin, that most of the supply of insulin is capped at $35. $35. And I'm thinking maybe the cost of the insulin was like $6, not 60 cents. I may have gotten it wrong. Might be $6, but I know it's not more than $6 to make insulin, right? Most insulin doesn't cost that much to make. So there's no reason why the drug manufacturers cannot keep it at $35 per month. So is it happening with all insulins, Tom, at 35 or many of them?
I thought it went to all.
No, it's not going to all
Only
insulins,
certain
but most of them, a lot of them are going to be capped at $35, and it depends on how the insulin is made as well. So I think that for the most part, if you're like a Novolog, Lantus, and some of these other familiar drugs, I mean, you should see it. And
the majority of the ones that I've looked up this year have
are $35.
35. That's why you're right. There is a couple.
There are some out there, but so if you're on a insulin where they're not going to recognize the $35 copay per month, talk to your primary care provider and your physician and ask them, is there another insulin that I could go on that's going to save me that much money? And I'd highly recommend that you have that conversation with your primary care provider or your specialist. All right, so coming up on September 1st, this just came by, September 1st, Medicare will announce 10 drugs under Part D plans selected for first ever price negotiations because Medicare never negotiated with the drug companies. The drug companies just did what they want, raised their premiums to how they wanted, and didn't have to.
Can you believe that?
It's crazy, right? It's absolutely insane.
Have so many politicians in their pocket,
I
suppose,
to
talk politics here.
Oh, yes. Of course, they're getting their paw greased, so to speak, all right? So there was a lady here in Polk County, Jean Birkin. She here who was struggling to afford their medication. On a given day, I might have 7 calls, and probably 2 to 3 of them are going to have something to do with prescription medications. And she says the call volume increases in the fall during the open enrollment for Medicare enrollees. Of course, what she's talking about is the Medicare AEP season from October 15th through December 7th. Mm-hmm. So that's the time where, if you're on a drug plan or on a Medicare Advantage plan, what should happen? What should people do who's on a standalone PDP or an MAPD plan during the AEP, Tom?
Well, I recommend they call Owen Insurance Group and do an annual review.
Bingo.
Of their Medicare Advantage plan or prescription drug plan.
So Birkin was saying that because of the climbing cost of drugs, it's making it difficult to take the medical device because they have to skip certain drugs or even go without the medication. So I hate it. I don't want to see it. I'm glad to see that the Inflation Reduction Act that this has happened. So some of the highlights, because what do you say? We have 10 minutes left. 9 minutes left. So monthly cap. So here's what's going to happen. Starting in next year in 2024, there will be a cap on annual out-of-pocket cost. So typically what we have now, Tom, is in 2023, the out-of-pocket, the catastrophic phase is around $7,200, $7,400.
Yep.
And then once you hit that catastrophic phase, then you pay 5% or a certain dollar amount of the drugs thereafter in perpetuity, right? So there's no cap on it. Starting this year, starting in 24, there will be a cap on those costs. And I believe in 24, that is going up to $8,000. Now, that doesn't mean that you are going to have $8,000 out of pocket. That $8,000 is a combination of what you pay, whether it's the deductible, copays, coinsurance costs, so forth, and what the drug company, the drug manufacturer is going to pay. So it's a combination to get to that $8,000. So we kind of did a quick math test to figure out what that number would be for the Medicare consumer, and we're maybe looking at about $3,600, $3,500, $3,600, $3,800, something like that is the max amount of pocket that you would pay in 2024. But Tom, the better news happens in 2025.
2025, your max out of pocket would be $2,000.
Boom.
So
peace, dude.
For a lot of people, that's going to be huge. Of course, there's the thing called no free lunch. So somebody's got to pay it. Medicare's got to cough it up, the Medicare Trust Fund, and people paying into it. However, but for people on those expensive medications, it's really going to be a life changer for their pocketbook.
It really has. So I'm out there speaking to senior groups, and next month I'll be speaking at a church up in Sebastian, and they want to kind of me to go over specifically prescription drug plans and cost and what that means to them moving forward. So again, that shows us that that's on the minds of seniors. Of course it is, because the costs have just gone through the roof and penetrated the ceiling, and it's just it's gone crazy. Now, what's going to happen? You know, we've spoken to some of the drug reps that represents the different carriers, the Medicare carriers, and like Tom said, there is no free lunch. So what's going to happen to the premiums?
Most likely they're going to go up.
What's going to happen to currently those plans that have a zero copay on Tier 1 and Tier 2 drugs?
Most likely will have a copay.
Copay.
And deductible might apply to all 5 tiers.
And the deductible may apply to all 5 tiers.
Potentially.
Yeah,
so they can change around the structure. There is a structure they have to abide by, but they're going to finagle the numbers so that they still won't go out of business. I mean, they still have to make a profit to stay in business.
They still got to pay themselves multiple billions of dollars a year. Yes, of course they do. But anyway, there is really great news coming on the horizon. 2025 is the year, as Tom said. That max amount of the cap, the most you'll ever pay for your drug cost will be $2,000, and then after that, it will be indexed annually. We're not sure what that percentage is going to look like, but we know that it's not going to be 200% increase year over year like some of the drug companies like to do on their drugs. And also, it's saying that the Inflation Reduction Act's redesign of the Medicare Part D is projected to reduce enrollee out-of-pocket spending by $7.5 billion, with a B, billion annually among more than 18.5 million enrollees, which is equivalent to about 36% of Part D enrollees. So we're excited. We're excited for our clients and those of you that are going to be turning 65 over the next year or two or 3, knowing that you're going to have a drug plan that is finally going to be in step with inflation, and the drug companies will be held, the government will hold the feet to the fire where they cannot raise their premiums over a certain amount of, I believe it's the CPI over inflation. So we're excited to see that some changes are coming on the horizon. Now, going back to the AEP, annual enrollment period, Tom, we cannot stress enough how important it is to do your due diligence and have a review done of your drug plan or your Medicare Advantage plan that has a drug component to it every single year during the AEP from October 15th through December 7th. Why, Tom? What changes?
A lot of things can change, and in the month of September, you should be receiving in the mail something called the ANOC, or that's the acronyms for Annual Notice of Change. The current prescription drug plan you're on, the current Medicare Advantage plan you're on, you'll get that in the mail, so you can see what's going to change for 2024 if you stay in that plan. What can change? Premiums, deductibles, max out-of-pockets, formularies, the list of medications that are covered, what levels or tier levels the drugs are on, doctors in network, doctors not in network, because these hospitals and doctors, they negotiate with these Medicare Advantage companies primarily their contracts and what they're going to be paid for their services. So they could drop out of the network anytime, technically, but a lot of times they'll do it for the year. So, hey, next year I'm not going to be accepting your health insurance plan. So give people time to change and research.
Yeah.
And new companies come along. Other companies that have been around may offer better benefits, ones that you're looking for. And like everyone should at least get a health physical minimum once a year. Have your doctor check you out from head to toe. Just preventative maintenance type thing. Same thing you should do for your health insurance. And it's just a wise and prudent thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, to Tom's point, I mean, what we're going to see, typically what we see during the annual enrollment period on the changes, the premiums go up. I mean, there was one carrier last year who raised their premiums to the tune of about $60 a month They were one of the cheapest drug plans, so they went up $60.
Yes, they did.
And the people, those of you that
I thought it was a typo.
yeah, right. and those that didn't have the annual review done sure had a rude awakening January 2023, buddy. And this is what happens. And so it doesn't cost you anything to have a drug review done or a Medicare Advantage review done. This is what we do. This is what we're here for. We're here as a resource for you. And so if you, in October 2023 through December 7th, get your review done. We don't charge for a professional service. You owe it to yourself to see what plan you have compared to what the plan's going to be changed for in 2024. So do it. Call us 772-210-1020. Give Owen Insurance Group a call, or you could go to our website at www.oweninsurancegroup.com. We've been given...
That's right. All good things must come to an end, and we thank you for listening.
Stay tuned. Coming up next is a Brian Kilmeade Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. And again, please share us with your friends, your family, your neighbors, your bridge players, your golf buddies, everybody
enemies.
that you can think about. Share, except for the aliens. We don't want the aliens to be tuning in. And remember, stay safe, Treasure Coast. Keep healthy, be happy, and enjoy your quality of life. Take care.